Now you might be wondering, where have I been? I've been posting videos. I only posted one video and did like maybe 2 streams in all of December and November. The reason why is because, well, now it's my birthday. But on top of this being the day after my birthday, I just moved into a new place, which is why you see me hanging out in my office. It's still not put together all the way. So you guys will get more videos from me since I just moved into the new place. For the past couple of days, been super busy handling all that. I do have a couple of videos that I do need to be putting out soon. And my daughter chewed up on the straw. Got a couple of really interesting videos that have been in the pipeline for a minute. Had some that I recorded that have just been sitting there, and I've been busy handling client work, so I need to catch up and get you guys on video. So you'll see a lot more of me over the next couple of days. I got more videos that are gonna be coming out, so that'll be fun and enjoyable. Man, what do I want to talk about today? I have one concept I was gonna work on it for the next video, which was my Gurus 2. My 2-year-old little guru, my daughter. She's been teaching me a lot of stuff, to be honest. Like a lot of stuff. I learned quite a bit because of my daughter. It's been interesting to say the least. Hey, what's up? Welcome. Been learning quite a bit for quite a while because of my daughter. She's an interesting teacher, to say the least, because when you're dealing with toddlers are very good when it comes to manifestation. They're like really freaking good. Welcome everybody. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from in the chat. Toddlers are very good at teaching manifestation. If you've ever wanted to learn like how to manifest, watching little kids will teach you how to do it properly. Because when it comes to manifesting what they want, that's the only way that they can actually get what they want, because toddlers don't have the ability to do anything for themselves, really. They don't have money. They can't drive themselves places. So if they ever want anything, they have to be able to manifest it. Hi, Carla. It's going pretty good. I'm coming on for my late birthday stream, because yesterday was actually my birthday. The year's been really cool. I actually just signed a lease on a new house, which is why you guys see me in a new background. I'm actually in my office, so you're gonna see a lot more videos with that kind of background. I will be back and forth because we're only like 20 minutes from the farm, so I'll have the farm backgrounds for certain videos, but I'm gonna be posting a lot more videos over the next few weeks from here, because this setup is finally where I get to control everything. So you'll hear way less chickens. Way less chicken and dog. More of just me talking, which is going to be absolutely amazing. Make everything a little bit easier. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So back to 2-year-olds. Talking about 2-year-olds and manifestation. So 2-year-olds are actually really good teachers when it comes to manifestation. That's why I love having a toddler, because what's up, Colby? When it comes to talking about my daughter, she teaches me a lot about how to practice this stuff, because I get to see it in miniature. I've talked about it with the first video that I made, which is the unhinged video, where I talked about the fact that if you are unwavering in the way that you think and you just stick with it, and do not like give up what you think, other people will move in accordance with what you desire. Yeah, I can see you, Colby. I can see you on here. And 2-year-olds are a really good example of this because whenever a 2-year-old has a desire, they simply state what they want. They don't have doubts. When it comes to a 2-year-old, 2-year-olds just stick with what they want. The best example that I had was my daughter. She she came to me. She was actually sitting in the kitchen on the island, and it was me and her mom in the kitchen talking, and then she just randomly started saying cake, cake, cake. I want cake, 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 cake. And we're like, we don't have cake. You keep asking for cake, but we don't have cake. And she just kept repeating it. And I looked over to her mom and I said, I don't know when, but at a certain point in the next few days, this girl's gonna get cake. We're not gonna intend and we're not gonna get cake for her, but I can guarantee you the cake is gonna show up. So she kept saying it, cake, 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 cake. Pure vibe of what she desired. Didn't care about any of the circumstances. Didn't care that she didn't have money for cake, because of course, what 2-year-old has money for cake? Didn't care that she couldn't make a cake, because 2-year-olds are really not that great at baking. She just said cake and refused to say anything else. Then she stopped, forgot about it. About 2 days later, we randomly find out that family members have come from out of town. Just decided to come into town because one of Stephanie's aunts, they had moved in and they lived not too far away from us, like probably like 30 minutes away. And they, their kids, one of their kids decided to come in. Well, it just so happened to be one of those their kids. I think they turned like what 20, was it 28 or something like that, 28. But they decided to come in, and sure enough, it was their birthday. So we get invited to go over. We decide Stephanie doesn't really want to go, but I'm like, yeah, let's go. You'll have fun. We go there, and sure enough, what is there but cake? And I get to watch as my daughter can starts eating this, and then it dawns on me, hey babe, you remember what she was talking about like 2 days ago? Look at what she's eating right now. She's eating her cake. She got exactly what she wanted. The world and circumstances all converged to make this happen. Uh, and the thing that becomes a little what's up? What's up, Noah? And the thing that becomes interesting with manifestation is that oftentimes it'll seem as though, do you know that 2-year-olds know the past? What do you mean? Like they're aware of what happened previously in the past, or are you talking about like in the future, or they have memory of before? I mean, they're really good at manifesting. Oh, we don't need to go into Israel, man. We're not gonna go into that during the stream. Yeah, 2-year-olds and younger kids, they know about before, so that it's much easier for them to create things that they desire, because they're not really just sitting there like us with uh where we've forgotten quite a lot. They're operating at a completely different level, which is why they're able to get us to do just about anything that they want, which is really cute and fun. But having that experience and watching that, I realized like, oh, she got exactly what she wanted. Now, being somebody who's coached a lot of people on a bunch of different things, whether it's building their businesses or with, finding their ideal relationships, what I've noticed is that when things do tend to show up, depending on what technique people used, most of the time things show up in a way that follows a bridge of incidents. And because it follows a bridge of incidents, most people will logically say, oh, it would have happened anyway. That's not the case, especially when it comes to things that seem devastatingly impossible. I've had people who come to me with things that seem completely impossible and they end up getting it. And I'm like, you need to connect the cause with the effect, which is what you created in your consciousness, whatever technique that you used to focus your mind to make this thing. Oh, thank you, Raven. Yeah, today's supposed to be a late birthday stream. My birthday was yesterday, and I was super busy, so I didn't get to do it. So I'm like, let me hop on and do a quick birthday stream today and talk to you guys, because I've been gone for a minute, handling the move, because we moved like literally we signed the lease on the 31st and moved in on the 1st. Yeah, very Capricorn. uh, Quick question. If 2-year-olds can talk, how can't 3-year-olds? What do you mean by that, Colby? Like, I mean, 2-year-olds can talk very well. 3-year-olds can talk. Um, I mean, it depends on the kid. You gotta be more specific about your question. um, where was I? Now, so when things happen in terms of manifestation, they usually happen in a way where people or the average person looking in will just say, "Oh, it would have happened anyway," which happens if you ever talk to anybody who has manifested things. There seems to be a logical sequence where it would have happened anyway, which is never, it's never actually the case. What we end up doing is by creating the possibility in our consciousness and actually solidifying the unmanifest desire as a manifest thing in our consciousness, in our visualization or anything else that we do, whether we're writing something down like scripting or you visualize using something like SATs, you create this thing out of the field of possibility and then you move along a natural flow until the thing actually comes to pass, which is useful. It's really useful. Now for dealing with little kids, they're really freaking good at doing it. They're really good. A couple things that I've learned from my daughter, and I'm putting this in my next videos. Number one, just like saying what you want and being unwavering. It. Well, I mean, some 3-year-olds can't talk good. Colby, it depends on. It highly depends on their mental diet and what they're being exposed to. Most of the time, you'll notice those kids they find it difficult to express themselves and to talk, and it's usually a reflection of like what they've been consuming. If the kid has been exposed to mostly like books and conversations and good music and good art, they should have no problem with communicating. They should communicate pretty well. But a lot of kids these days, are usually when they get around the age of 3 or they're growing up, their parents spend a lot of time putting them in front of like electronics, and the content that they consume will usually be stuff related to like TikTok or YouTube or something else like that. So the content that they're consuming has much choppier language and shorter scene transitions and not long conversational units. And because they consume things with like shorter conversational units, they have difficulty with like holding a longer conversation or talking in a longer conversation. And that's why it's important for kids to read books and to watch the right kind of content, because it does really make a very big difference in them and their ability to communicate over time. What does a chicken drive? I'm interested for this question. This will be a good one for the birthday. What exactly does a chicken drive, Colby? A Kentucky 5x5. Oh man, what was the other thing that I mentioned? So, toddlers are really good at teaching people. Number one, how to just be unwavering in your desire and not to doubt it. Just to say it again. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that birthday. Toddlers are really good at stoking people's desires. So one thing that I've noticed that toddlers are very, very good at is that toddlers and kids don't have authority. So when they give a command, like tell you to do something, you're more likely not to do it. Oh, today we're talking like manifestation and like kids and toddlers, because toddlers are really good AW. um, Toddlers are really good when it comes to manifesting. So these are like the fact is one of my gurus is 2. My daughter's 2 years old. And I learn and I get to see the manifestation principles in practice coming from her. A Volkswagen. That's a good one. That's a good one, man. I like that one. That was a funny one. Thank you for that joke, Colby. Um, when it comes to manifesting, she's taught and reminded me the importance of not wavering on what you desire, because a toddler will just repeat what they want again and again and again until they get it. They will be unwavering in what they desire, and they have no reason to think of any doubts. And they can manifest things without caring about circumstances, because technically speaking, circumstances are completely against them. They have no reason to get anything that they want. They don't have money. They don't have the ability to do any of the things. The only thing that they could do is they can ask and figure out ways to manifest. So they have to be very pure in their speaking of the things that they desire to get what they want. Um, Number 2 is how to use attraction to get what they want. Thank you. How to use attraction to get what they want with their language. Of course, you could donate. Yeah, that's cool. I'd appreciate it. It's definitely a welcome birthday gift. Um, what was I gonna say? Toddlers are very good at stoking desire with their language. There's 2 functions to how people can use language. You could use authority-based language, which is command, which is what you see like a police officer do, which will be like, "Hey, freeze!" And when they say something, you'll do it. Or if a boss tells an employee to do something, you'll do it. Or if a parent tells a child to do something, that they do it. That's authoritative language. There is something else that's powerful in a different way, and that's attractive language, where you're stoking a person's desire, or you're creating a desire in another person with what you do and how you talk. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Colby. Thank you so much. Very appreciated. Colby. Woo! um, and the way that the desire based language works is usually based around questions, and asking things in a certain way to get somebody to want to do something. And it was very funny because it wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. There was one day, like a couple of weeks ago around Christmas, we bought cookies. We bought cookies. They were gingerbread cookies. And they were sitting on the kitchen island. And her mom told her, "Hey, no cookies. We're not, no, you're not getting any cookies." And I was like, "Okay, no cookies." So her mom leaves the kitchen, and it's only me and her in the kitchen. She's standing on her little kid tower, so she's stood up and she's reaching for the cookies, and she's trying to get them. And she's like, "Daddy, cookie, daddy, cookie, cookies, daddy, cookies, dada." And I'm like, "Nah, baby, no cookies." "All right, no problem. Thank you for coming by, and thank you for the donation, Kobe. I appreciate it, man." She keeps asking for cookies, "Daddy, cookies." I'm like, "Nah, babe, your mom said no cookies." And I'm like, "Okay." And I turn around and I hear her as she reaches over and grabs the cookie. She grabs the cookies, and she turns around to me and she says, "Oh, Daddy, I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you." And she hands me the cookies. And the look on her face when she said it was so adorable. "I'm happy to see you. I already know you're implying that you want to eat a cookie with me." And I'm like, "You know what? Fine, fine. You melted me down. You can actually get a cookie." Now, she didn't force me. She didn't tell me, "Cookie now, daddy." She didn't use any authoritative tone. There was no authoritative tone or no authoritative language in what she was saying. All she did was, she didn't even say that she wanted the cookie. She is absolutely hilarious. She is. She didn't even say that she wanted the cookie. She implied that she wanted the cookie by holding out the box to me and saying, "I'm so happy to see you." What if I was in the kitchen turning around? And I'm like, all I wanted to do was to give her a moment where we would share something together, because I thought it was absolutely cute and I knew exactly what she wanted. So I gave it to her. She got it from me not by commanding me to do it, but by creating a desire in me to give her what she wanted. And the funny thing is, this is what happens with really, really powerfully healed women. Like women are very good at using this if they are solid in their divine feminine energy. Where when they're in a conversation with their partner, they don't use the commanding tone where they tell them and they nag them, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. Like, hey, I need you to go fix this thing in the room. If they tell you something different where it's more along the lines of like, oh, I need a big strong man to help me out with this, and rubbing up on his chest, oh, I need a big strong man to help me out with this, do you know anybody who might be able to help me with this, do you think you might be able to help me with this? It's the act of asking a question that creates desire in the other person. You don't have to command the person to do the thing. You ask in a way that creates desire in the other person. And little girls are probably one of the best. Or you get another guy to help. That also, that is true. Yeah, um, yeah, he'll stand up real fast. Yeah, but that is the power that the divine feminine has, and the guys can use the power for the stoking desire as well. But in the divine feminine, little girls are probably the best examples for women to understand how to be in their feminine. And it was funny because Stephanie, she was talking about how our daughter teaches her about how to be more feminine and in her feminine energy, because she's absolutely gorgeous. Our daughter is like beautiful. I know parents say that all the time, but like, her mom's a model. I was a model as a little kid. My mom was a model, so she comes from like lines of models. And it's actually funny because now that I think about it, there's a ridiculous number of members of my family who are models. Like I was a model. My actually, no, just about every single little sister. I think one of them may have not been a model, but two of the other ones have been in tons of commercials. Like I can guarantee most of you guys have seen most of my family in some sort of commercial. uh how do you know? You're right, she is Raven, she's a Taurus. That little one is a Taurus, yeah, she's a little Taurus. She's a cute little Taurus. Um, yeah, all my little sisters, I have one who's an influencer who's done acting work and modeling work. I have my two other little sisters. They have both done a lot of modeling and commercial work, especially around the holidays and stuff. Madison has been very good at that. Madison's been great. Yeah, they do love food. Yeah, they do love food and they do love comfortable stuff. That's why we got a huge king size bed and she only wants to sleep in bed with mommy and daddy. We had another bed for her where it was super comfortable, but she's just like, nah, I prefer laying out in these luxurious bamboo sheets on this king size nectar bed, which nectar beds are amazing if you've ever gotten the chance. Like, not even a plug on nectar beds, but they're like amazing to say the least. Love it. So glad to have the bed back. That bed is amazing. We had another king size bed at the farm, but this one is a dream to say the least. Yeah, they love luxury. Tauruses love luxury, and my daughter definitely loves luxury. My daughter is a luxurious baby to say the freaking least. Um, um, yeah. Of course, I want another one. They're adorable. They're wonderful. They're amazing. The little ones are always adorable, amazing, and wonderful. And having one will definitely have you wanting more, to say the least. To say the least. Yeah. Um. What else was I gonna say? Next one, I would want a boy. Wouldn't want too many girls in the beginning. A boy and a girl, and then we could move to whatever. Gonna manifest an incline bench PR. Ooh, nice. 205. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. You're gonna hit it. You're gonna hit it. You're gonna hit it. What was another thing? Okay, so number one was the fact that they are unwavering in what they desire. Number two was the fact that or specifically my daughter, that kids understand how to use language in a very effective way, because there's both the masculine way of using language and the feminine way of using language. And I'm not talking like men and women, I'm talking about like how it affects the brain and consciousness. The masculine way is through command, which usually works if the person is speaking from a place of authority. If a person has some sort of authority, the command tone and the command language works very well. So from a position of like a police officer or a judge or a pastor or a father or just a parent or some other level of authority over another person, the command tone and the command language works very powerfully, because you could just tell somebody, do this, as a command and as a statement. Sit down. Teachers can tell students, sit down. Why? Because the teacher is given a position of command over the kids, and the kids must listen to the teacher, or else there's punishment or something attached to it. The other way of using language is, and that's probably a really good example of how the masculine usage of language can be used by both groups, because you have a police officer who can use the masculine usage of language, which is command. You'll get it, don't worry. How to manifest short-term relationship breakup 6 months ago. uh, do you want to manifest the relationship, or do you want to manifest the breakup? And you're saying that you had the breakup happen 6+ months ago, and you want to manifest the relationship again. But it's got to be specific. Got to be specific in your question. So you manifested the short-term relationship, and you want to manifest it again. That's what I figured. I just want to make sure that I'm correct. Okay, cool. It doesn't matter when you broke up. That doesn't matter. That's completely irrelevant. If you want the relationship, the first thing and this is what I tell everybody, the first thing that you want to figure out is, what is it that you truly desire? Like, what is it that you desire in the relationship that you want? Write that down. Write down the qualities that you want in the relationship. Do you want passion? Do you want communication? Do you want shared values? What are some of those shared values that you care about? Maybe you're somebody who's religious and you want another partner who's very religious. Maybe you want a partner who enjoys having conversations about weird topics. Maybe you enjoy anime and you want somebody who also enjoys anime. Write down the qualities, the things that you want in your relationship. So prior to trying to like manifest somebody back after a breakup, like really take some time and solidify, what is my actual desire. Because if you don't take the time to think about and consider what your actual desire is, you may end up in a relationship and think that that's what you want, but then realize that there are qualities that you wanted that aren't like manifesting in this relationship, which puts you in a position where you're like, damn, now I want a different relationship now. Now I gotta break this person's heart to get there. Don't do that. Take the time of being single as a blessing, because it gives you the opportunity to focus and to decide what it is exactly that you want and what you desire. Um, if you want to manifest them for petty reasons, you can. I can't stop you from doing that. I can advise against it as a counselor, and let you know, like, hey, you can do it. It's not enjoyable for you or the other person, though, because you can manifest them back and then realize, oh wait, I don't want you long term, and then at that point you're essentially just using that person to satiate whatever desire you have that's related to that, which is not good. And that's again why I mentioned that it's very good for people to take some time and really hone in on what it is that you desire. What do you want? What do you actually want? So then that's a perfect example, Stranded. I don't think of petty reasons. I was just curious about what you might say. I'm not sure I still want her anymore since she's never reached back out. That's the perfect example. So your desire may end up being like, I want somebody who gives me signals that they're interested in me, which is something that I talked to somebody who's on the live right now earlier today. What is it that you want? One of the things that he said that he wanted was like clear signals that this person, that somebody, when he's like, let's say at the gym or something like that, that this person is interested. Like, I know that you know that I know that something's going to happen. And then there's that mutual desire between the two of them and that attraction. So he wants that green light signal. So it's not like you're interrupting a person. You could tell that they want you to come and approach them. And that's what he wanted. And that's a very powerful thing to say that you desire. You want somebody who mutually shows that desire for you. So if you're somebody who wants a relationship, like take a moment and really think, what do you want? What do I want? And in that list, you may find things that this person had that you wanted. Yeah, that does sound familiar, doesn't it? When when you have a desire and you notice these things coming up in a person, if you're open, you can explore and realize, okay, well, there's this quality that this person has, 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 and begin building the list. And when you find qualities that the person that you may have been thinking about bringing in didn't have or had that you didn't like, those are opportunities for you to refine and clarify what your actual preference is. Because the whole point of contrast or things that aren't what you want is to help you clarify what it is that you want. Because you're never more clear about what you really want than when you're confronted directly with what you don't want. So if you're in an experience where you realize that you have gotten what you don't want, it's the perfect opportunity for you to decide, okay, well, I got this. What about this that I like? So this is the things that I manifested that I desired, because I know this was on my desire list. What are the things that I didn't like, which now led me to understand what my preferences are? Because any experience that you have in anything, whether it's your business or your work career, whether it's your health or your relationships, all of the experiences that you have are refining opportunities where you bring something into your life and you realize, oh, this is really good, more of this, which is where you appreciate and you give thanks for this thing so you can experience more of it, or you experience something that's kind of not quite right. And then you get the opportunity to say, okay, well, what did this make me realize that I wanted? Well, I want this instead. And then you get to focus on that and then allow it to come in. And that's the beautiful thing about manifestation or anything that you want to create in your life. Um, Anything that you create, you always have the opportunity to create something different. Every day is new. Every day is a new opportunity for you to experience something else. So try it out. Yes, you did manifest her to begin with. So I'm glad that you consciously manifested her. And so you manifested many things. However, my manifestations usually fall to pieces. So working on manifesting better scenarios. This goes directly to the point of what I said when you first asked the question. What is it that you truly want? Part of the reason why you have things that crumble and fall apart is because the thing that you desired or that you wanted didn't have the long-term vision of what your desire was. Like you may have not had the long-term vision of what you wanted in a relationship. You probably just said, I want somebody now, I want somebody now. Not, what's the type of person that I want as a life partner? Which those two answers may be two different things. At one given time, you may just want a person that's like this, but then you realize when you think about long term, what you may want like for the next decade or 2 decades is a very different type of person. And for you to get that person, you may have to become a very different type of person. Because I've had people who were like, yeah, I want to have a more traditional relationship, and I want to take care of everything, and I want to have my partner. I want to have her take care of our kids, and stay at home. And then it's like, great, you want that desire. Are you the type of person that person would want to be with? It's like, well, no, I don't think I'm as religious, or I don't think I'm making as much money where I could take care of a family like that, or the partner would feel comfortable with that. And that gives them an opportunity to grow into the position where they feel as though that they're worthy of that long-term type of partner. So usually if people end up manifesting something that ends up crumbling, usually it's because you're in the process of still like becoming the person that you want to be ultimately, that you want to become long-term, or you're on the path to that long-term creation. What you just curious, what would you say a manifestation that you're really happy entered into your life? My daughter's like one of the best ones. And funny enough, my daughter is very well like a sign of how this is how I get to Christmas. It's a sign. She's a sign of what's possible for manifestation for me and for Stephanie, my partner, because like she had a very strange set of desires, which I only found out about like really after we had our daughter. She wanted very specifically an Asian baby, a British baby, a chocolate baby, with curly hair that looked just like her. But these were all separate desires, like at different times. She wanted a baby that was British because she always loved the British accent and stuff. She wanted an Asian baby because she saw Asian little mixed Asian babies, and she's like, oh, they look so cute, they look so adorable. She wanted a chocolate baby because she thought, oh, chocolate mixed babies are so cute, and she wanted a little curly hair baby that looks just like her. Guess what our daughter is? She ended up meeting me. Didn't think much of it. I just so happened to be Haitian, Black, British, and Cherokee Indian, and German as well. But because of me and my eyes are like a little bit more slanted. Um, our daughter has Asian looking eyes. She is chocolate and British and looks just like her mom. So her impossible list of things that she wanted for her children, she got by being with me. I just so happened to give her all the things that she wanted in her daughter. And these are things that she had said that she wanted well before she had met me in her life, way beforehand. And I just so happened to be the person who could facilitate all of the things that she wanted. And then for me, I wanted an absolutely beautiful, adorable little baby with little curls, a little cute pie. So I got my little girl. Well, I thought I had an idea of personality that would work well long term, but I think I need a different type of personality from a woman. Just haven't solved it yet. Well, this is where you play a game of like jujitsu, because you got to figure out like what are the things that you know that you want, and then what is the type of person that can support that. So you may not know the personality. Well, then think about what it is that you desire. Like, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Um, do you want to live in a city, a really well connected city, maybe in like a condo or something like that? Or do you want to live in a suburb? Or do you want to live in a rural area, where you're living on a farm? Do you want to be more spiritual and religious? Do you want a partner who just works, and you two work together and you don't want kids? Do you want to have lots of kids? Do you only want to have two? What kind of work do you want to do? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be a construction worker? Do you want to work as a politician? Do you want to work as a celebrity? Do you want to be a celebrity? Do you want to be a content creator? What are the things that you want to do, and what is the type of lifestyle that you want? Do you want to go mudding? Do you want to live somewhere where you can go out into the wilderness and all this stuff? Do you want to travel? All these things all these things are desires, and there may be a particular type of person who fits this desire well, who you just gel very well together with. So if you may not know the personality, if you list out the things that you desire and that you want for your ideal lifestyle, you'll begin to find the qualities that will match up with that lifestyle. And then you realize that the partner that you want is somebody who matches and who will fit and complement the lifestyle that you want. Because if you're somebody who wants to be a farmer and you want to live off the grid, you want to go conspiracy you want to go conspiracy theory and make your own food and prepare for the end of the world because you don't trust the government. You think the world's gonna go to crap and you need to stockpile on gold and ammo. Then you probably want somebody who fits. Yeah, we need more money, money, Arthur. uh, if that's what you desire and that's something that you want, articulate it and let people know, because more than likely there is a woman who likes that, who wants to live that lifestyle, who wants to be very religious. There are like a couple of influencers that I know, like Elliot Hulse, who is a strong man. Dude loves lifting heavy weights, but he's also very religious and also talks about men being based and being more masculine and in their king energy. But he's Catholic, so Catholicism is very big in his content and the way that he thinks. So for him, his wife was perfect for him because she was somebody who's also very conservative, who thought this way, who loved that her husband was like that and wanted to support her husband in his business and everything that he did. So he built his strength camps, built his online businesses, and they live on a farm. They do a whole bunch of awesome stuff, farming and living, and that's what they love. What's up, Erica? And he found a partner who complemented the lifestyle that he wanted. There are other people, like, let's say, Jeff Bezos' wife, who wants to live a wealthy, lavish lifestyle, going to really cool parties with celebrities and going on mega yachts and all that kind of stuff. And that's the lifestyle that she prefers. There are other women who want to live in the city and they love the city life and going out to the opera and Broadway shows and being cultured and going to art galleries, and that's the lifestyle that they prefer. And there are men who want a woman who complements that lifestyle, who knows how to navigate in those spaces, to wear the right clothes to those kinds of things, and is cultured enough to enjoy a gala or a wine tasting. And your job is to just define what the heck you want. Like, what is the lifestyle that you want? And then put out basically write it down, so you're putting out a help wanted ad to the universe to bring in the right kind of person. Oh, you're reminding me of The Sims where you had to visualize the baby after woohoo. Yeah, funny thing about The Sims is that I was super successful at it, and Stephanie was like absolutely shocked that the family was entirely successful. I was a super successful author, making tons and tons of money on The Sims. We were rich. We were rolling in it. And she was a successful stand-up comedian the comedy bar, and we had two kids, one daughter, and then we thought another one was a boy, and then the kid grew up and we're like, why is our son wearing dresses? And we realized, oh wait, I totally got the gender of the baby wrong. It's actually a girl. Oh man, so that was funny. That was funny. Do you think imagining a sat scene once is enough, or should we do it more? Okay, totally dependent on the experience of doing the sad scene. If it is intensely emotional, like you have a very powerful energy and you release it and you feel as though that you're completely in the scene and you let it go and it feels like you're impotent because you just completely you built up that energy so powerfully that you just exploded it out in the world and went out. Yes, that is enough. Once is enough if you have a very powerful experience where you go very deep into the state and fall asleep in it, or let it go completely. Yes. Most of the time, people do not go that deep into the state and do not feel it as powerfully. So usually they will require repetition. Part of the reason why Neville Goddard spoke about repetition, and I talked about this in a private session with one of my clients, and she asked the question, "What is the difference between Neville? What's the difference between Neville Goddard and Joe Dispenza? Like, why does Joe Dispenza talk about frequency and Neville Goddard never mentioned anything like frequency or energy or the energy centers and chakras?" And I told her, well, it's because Neville Goddard is a result of both his context of the type of people that he was trying to teach at the time, but also his professional background. So for like Neville Goddard, people tend to forget that Neville Goddard's background was in theater. He was a vaudeville dancer. He was dancing on Broadway. So, as a dancer and as somebody in theater, when he came to approach teaching the law and teaching these metaphysical principles, he's teaching it from his background as a dancer, which means he knows and understands if you want to get something right, you practice it again and again and again. You rehearse it. Why do you rehearse it? Because you want to make sure that the performance feels right. You do the moves again and again until you no longer have to think about it, and you just do the movement and put your feeling and energy into it so that other people experience it, or you fully experience the feeling with it. And that's something that's hard to describe to somebody unless they've been a performing arts person, whether you've been a musician or you've been an actor or you've been a dancer. If you've done a performing art, you understand the need for rehearsal and practice to get so good at the thing that when you go up on stage, you do it in a way that is powerful. You're able to put more of your energy, more of your life into it because you're no longer thinking about the process. You're just pouring yourself into it because your body is used to doing the thing, whether it's playing the instrument, singing the song, saying the lines, or doing the dance. So you understand that when Neville talked about sats, he was teaching people from his background as a performing artist. So understand that it's his perspective. It was how he got really good at doing things. And if you want to do the same, you just follow along with what he teaches. But you don't have to actually do it multiple times if you go deep enough into the state. And that's actually why I recommend people to do stuff like practice the gateway experience or the gateway tapes. If you search up the gateway experience on YouTube, you'll see the wave 1, wave 2. There are a bunch of different tracks. The gateway experience was a system designed by the Monroe Institute to help people with getting into altered states of consciousness, and ultimately was to help a lot of people with out-of-body experiences, because the founder had started having out-of-body experiences and wanted to help people learn how to reproduce them. Now, they don't promise that you'll experience them, but you'll experience expanded states of consciousness and how to control like the energies of your body. If you practice the gateway experience, what I've noticed with clients who do it consistently, they find the ability to do in the gateway experience what is wave 2 track 4, if I'm not mistaken, or track 3, because problem solving, 1 month patterning, I think it's wave 2 track 3, 1 month patterning, where you feel the thing and then you let it go completely. And that's 1 month patterning, and it's essentially similar to Neville Sats, but you're already placed in an altered state of consciousness. So the act of letting it go, you just do it naturally. So you don't have to do it again and again. The pattern's already created and it's released and let go. And I've manifested using that. Other people that I know have manifested using it, so it works really well. So I know for a fact that you can do it once and manifest what you want. You just need to understand how to do it properly and how to do it powerfully. And you don't have to necessarily go to sleep to do it, which is why I recommend people to practice the gateway tapes. I have a question. Since I started reading Neville Goddard and Manifesting, I feel like it's been accompanied by a spiritual awakening too, and I'm becoming insanely aware of a lot of things, which I'm not surprised about. That happens with most people. Do we create everything and everyone, and how they act towards us through our inner dialogue with them? Yes, because we are all the same mind. The reason why it kind of gets difficult for a lot of people to comprehend is that you are not disconnected. You are always connected. You are a single center of the collective unconscious, or the collective infinite intelligence. We are the sum total of intelligence filtered into the vessel of a single body. So you're basically universal intelligence looking through the eyes of you. And when you think from that perspective, not like I am a disconnected person, but I am this cosmic universal intelligence filtering through this body, then all the stuff that we talk about makes a little bit more sense. It's like, do we create everything through our thoughts? Well, yes, because our thoughts are shared by everyone else, and we're just a center that is allowing these thoughts to flow through us. So when we say our thoughts are becoming everybody else's thoughts, it's like, yes, because we're all connected as the same universal mind. So when you think a thought, what you're doing is you're embodying the energy of a thought and then projecting it into other vessels of the universal mind. They have no choice but to follow along with it because they're also a vessel of the universal mind. They're also a center of this mind principle. So when we talk about do we create everything? Yes, because everything around us is mind. Every physical object, everything is solidified mind. So when we talk about the inner dialogue, it's not an inner dialogue. We only consider it an inner dialogue because we hear it inside of our heads. It's not an inner dialogue. It's literally vibration that's moving around in the space. It just so happens that you're tuning into it inside of your head, and you just think that, oh, this is a little private thing. No, it's not. Everybody else can hear it. If they're tuned in enough, they can hear it. No problem. But the thing is, when people are not aware of spirituality, they'll hear thoughts and think of them as their own just because they hear them. And this will typically happen if people just have like a random thought and they're like, man, that was so weird. Where did that come from? Did you really think that you thought that? Did you really think that you created that thought? Like, no. If it came from out of nowhere and it was completely disconnected from everything else that you were talking about, guess what? That thought was transmitted to you and you picked it up. Okay. Okay, I had a fight with a friend a few months ago, and one day I was like, I'm going to bed, and I just imagine us getting along again, and it happened the next day, and we're good again. Yeah, again, that goes back to what we were talking about. It's kind of tripping me out. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I feel like I can also feel people's thoughts when I'm around them, like clairsentience. Yeah, that falls back into what I was talking about. It's the fact that you as an individual are not special in universal mind. You are just the center of this. So when it comes to thinking that thoughts are being filtered through other people, they always are. So you're always broadcasting and receiving thoughts from other minds because you're just a broadcaster and receiver of thoughts, baby. I have a serious medical condition that causes me great pain. Why does music help more than meds? Ooh, that's a really freaking good question. That's a really good question. Music tends to help more than medicine. Both of them are forms of vibration that are accepted by the body, that are tied to belief. When we talk about medicine is a very physical items that we consume are gross forms of vibration, meaning that they're like at the solid level. They're very slow moving vibrations. If you ever took physics class, then you know that there is no such thing as solid matter. Everything is energy in motion. Every item or everything is just molecules and atoms vibrating at an imperceptible rate. And when we talk about physical items, they're just items that are moving at a very slow rate. That's why when we look at stuff like steam, water, and ice, it's the same thing. It's just that as you move down the scale, it's lower energy, which is what a reflection of cold is. Cold is removing energy from a system. So if you add energy to the system, it goes from ice to water, from water to steam. And if you move in the other direction where you remove energy from it, you go from steam to water, water to ice. So gross form or physical form is an item where the energy has been removed, so it's moving at a slower rate. So when you eat stuff like pills, you're consuming something that's a vibration at a certain rate, where when you consume it and it becomes a part of your body, it's supposed to align your body back to how it's supposed to feel. But in its essence, if we're talking from an energetic state, it's vibration. You're learning to vibrate at a certain rate. When we talk about listening to music, music is a higher form of vibration where if it's accepted by the body and you feel it and experience it, it can realign you with feeling healthy or feeling good, which is what happens with a lot of people when they're in the process of being at like a church or something like that, or they have a very So being a professional drummer is a really good one, because then you definitely know the feeling of being on stage and hearing that music and feeling it through your body. You know it more than most people, that when you experience music, music isn't just something that's heard by the ears, it's felt by the entire body. Especially when you're on stage and there's really good sound equipment, the vibrations move throughout the entire body. So this is actually what happens in churches, or what was supposed to happen in churches, is that churches and cathedrals are actually sound healing locations. That's why they're built to be acoustic. And when they sang certain songs, oh, thank you, baby. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, you just put it down there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jesus. Ask away your questions. So when you're in a cathedral, cathedrals are built with acoustics, and when they sang songs, what would happen is that people would go into these ecstatic, blissful, loving states where their bodies would be completely transformed, and their lives would completely no, thanks for summing, I appreciate it. So yeah, and it's funny when you go to places like South America or other places, what you'll notice is that music is different. And if you've ever been in the United States, thanks for stopping by, Stranded Man. When you go to different places, the sounds are different. When we talk about the sounds of cars are different. The sounds of music, and I only like noticed this when I came back to the States, like really heavily. Is like everywhere you go, they're playing music. Like you go to a store, what are they playing on the speakers? Music. You go to a restaurant, what are they playing? Music or the television. And it's funny because most of the stuff that they play is usually like top hits related to the type of people that they want to have there. But if you think about wealthy people, like think about a wealthy location, right? Let's say like a wealthy restaurant. What kind of music do they play at a wealthy restaurant? Like write that down in the chat. What kind of music do they play in a wealthy restaurant? You go to a regular bar or pub, they're playing top 20s, top 30s, that kind of stuff. You go to a fancy restaurant, 5-star restaurant, it's classical music, no lyrics. Jazz, classical music. The reason why they play classical music is that classical music is tuned to a very specific frequency, 432 hertz usually for Baroque music. And it's designed, and I love how you're saying classical, jazz, classical. These songs are specifically designed to create a certain feeling in people's bodies. And if you've never, if you've never experienced like live classical music, yeah, they make the they make the poors listen to the music. They let the poors listen to the radio music. I'm not surprised that Billy Powell was a classically trained pianist. A classically trained pianist, because Leonard Skinner, they were their music was very, very complex, very to say the least. Back to where this stuff gets interesting. So, vibration can be used for sound and healing, and that's why you'll have people do like sound bowl baths and things like that, because ultimately there are a lot of healing modalities that are based on vibration, feeling, and sound. Sound is a very, very powerful, potent thing for healing. And this is where we get into conspiracy theory territory. This is where we get into the concept of bells. Bells. Back in the day, old towns in their churches, and churches were places of healing, not only emotionally, socially, but also physically. People would have physical healings for churches. And towns with churches, people would get healed. One of the reasons why were because of bells. Bells, whether a church was designed like a cathedral, that was one thing, which was it was a sound healing chamber for people to heal their bodies. Then we also have bells. Churches that didn't get designed in the same way would have bells, and they would toll the bells. And bells were tuned and designed in such a way where the sound of the bell would wash through the entirety of the town when they rang the bell. So every day, at certain times during the day, the bell would be rang by the church, and the vibrations would be felt by everybody in the town, and people would be healed. Interesting fact about bells is if you look at any bell that is still out there in the world, a majority of bells have cracks in them. They have cracks and a nail driven through them in a certain place. And this is true. Like, go search up any bells. And that's why you have the picture of the Liberty Bell, and the Liberty Bell is cracked. Well, guess what? All the other freaking bells are cracked. Look at most historical huge bells, they are cracked. It's a weird thing. I'm going to answer your question in a moment, Raven, about revision. So if you want to experience sound healing, I can talk about it all day, every day, until you go out and have the experience. Like, I can tell you about what it's like to stand at a concert. Oh, I'm glad that you got a jacuzzi, man. Jacuzzis definitely help because it helps relax in the body. One thing that I would suggest going to try out is searching up in your local area to find out if there's any practitioners who do stuff like sound healing, who have like sound bowls and sound baths. And if you don't have anybody in the area, look for or just search up and like purchase sound bowls. They're really not that expensive. You can get sound bowls for like $100 or like $200 and get a whole sound bowl set and start playing around with those vibrations. And you will notice the difference when you start practicing with these, how it changes the way you feel inside of your body. Because really powerful and well-tuned sound bowls will resonate in the bones of your body. You'll feel it in your body. And it's definitely something that I suggest everybody's experience at one point or another. If you want to go a little bit more serious, and this is something on my bucket list to do, is to go on a pilgrimage to a great cathedral. There are a lot of really great, huge cathedrals. Wow. Only 171 cases of what you got. That's crazy. Well, then you'll be one of the few cases of people being healed, and I can't wait to hear about that. That's going to be awesome, man. Speak healing over you. It's going to be awesome. But seriously, try out the sound bowls and see how it like makes you feel in your body. Because if music helps you, if you have the sound bowls, you could find the specific frequencies that you're playing inside of the music that help you with alleviating the pain in the body. So even if you're not getting healed and you just feel the relief, I highly suggest it. So try it out, test it out, see how you feel. And you should be able to find the frequency that really resonates and brings that threshold of pain down. And if I were to include something else on top of that, and this goes back into vibration and feeling, just by feeling better, it allows your body to heal. And the one book I recommend for people who are going through illness of any sort, who want to experience healing, check out the book, The Anatomy of an Illness. The Anatomy of an Illness. What was the name of the author for The Anatomy of an Illness? It is The Anatomy of an Illness. Come on. Here we go. The Anatomy of an Illness. The Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins. So, The Anatomy of an Illness, fantastic book. The reason why I suggest it is it was by a gentleman known as Norman Cousins. He was somebody who was terminally ill. They told him that he was going to die. So he decided, yeah, Norman Cousins. He decided that he was going, he's like, they say I'm going to die. All right, well, I'm going to die laughing because his disease was crippling and an irreversible disease. And they're like, okay, fine, whatever. Um, I'm I'm gonna laugh my way into the grave. So he decided that he was gonna watch funny movies, and that's what he was gonna focus on. It was like focusing on the power of laughter, courage, and all that stuff. So he started listening and watching these movies, and sure enough, they're using humor and laughter. He got to the point where his illness was gone. And if I'm not mistaken, it happened again. He got another debilitating illness and did the process again and was able to heal himself a second time. So it's a fabulous book on the power of healing and the usage of the mind. Thank you very much. And I really did appreciate it as a powerful lesson in the power of what happens when we resonate our bodies with the right frequencies and feel good, like listening to music, listening to funny movies, and healing ourselves. And it's a powerful process. And I've been able to heal things in my body that have been less severe. Personally, like I had nose issues. Right now, my nose is a little like stuffy because we've been moving stuff, so things are like really dusty. So it's been messing with like my nose, but as we've been cleaning up, it's been getting better. But last year, my sinuses had gotten so bad, like it was painful, and I couldn't breathe through my nose. So I went to a freaking to an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they looked at my nose and they were like, okay, I think also my ears were painful, so like I had them clean out my ears. And then they checked my nose and they were like, "Yeah, you need surgery because you're this is the way this is a healthy nose." And they showed like the nasal passages and they were open, and they're like, "This is yours," and they showed like that my passageways were like super shut, and they're like, we suggest that you get these zapped so they get smaller so you can actually breathe. I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, fine, yeah, sure, we'll do it, whatever. And then I went home and I'm like, let me just work on my stuff, and I did laughter, fun stuff, fasting, and sure enough, I was able to breathe. Whenever I did the example, I was like, I was breathing fine, but right now I gotta stuff from all the dust. But it really did help. Like I've been able to breathe perfectly fine. And fasting was probably one of the best things that I could have possibly done, uh, which is really cool. Okay, I gotta answer your question, Raven, because I know you've been asking me questions. Uh, I'm glad that you're doing a lot better, uh, RVGP. Yeah. Try your mixer. Try your mixer and try the bowls as well. You could start off with the mixer and then move to bowls. Obrigada. Okay, so obrigado. So, what do you think of about revision and how do you use it effectively? Okay, so Raven, moving back to the concept of frequency, this relates back to revision. Um, think of yourself as a as a converging point. Like imagine for a moment that the center of you, which is between the eyes, well, behind the eyes and between the ears in your head, there's like a hole that is you. And all of the things in your experience that come to you are surging in through your senses, through your ears, through your mouth, through your physical body, into that single point. Okay, well, get your rest, man. You'll see me in my next videos or in my next live. Thank you so much for coming around, man. And definitely let me know how it goes when you get the book and you start practicing the sounds. Get some good sleep. I'm glad I could lift your soul up a bit. That's a good enough birthday gift for me. I appreciate it. I'm glad. Where was I? So imagine that your center of your existence is your soul. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it, man. Robert Powell. I'll see you on the next one, man. So imagine that your self is a circle or hole in the center of your being through which everything passes through, right? And there are two sides to that experience. There's the external, or what you consider to be outside of yourself, which would be anything on the other side of that being that happens to be outside of you, which would be stuff that you see, stuff that you touch, stuff that you touch outside of yourself, stuff that you hear. And this is the things that come from the physical or from the other. Everything that exists on the other side of that hole would be considered stuff that's inside of you, which is what people typically refer to as like the inner space, which would be memory. So sounds that you hear that would be your thoughts or your inner dialogue, feelings, internal feelings inside of the body, because these are things that exist inside or beyond the threshold of you. When things are beyond the threshold of you, you consider these things to be a part of yourself. So like your memories, your imagining, and you don't think of these to be a part of the physical world because you think they're just part of you. So you have, number one, the things that exist beyond the threshold of you, which are like your imagination, your thoughts, your feelings, and then you have the things that are outside of you, which you don't think are parts of you, which would be like physical world outside of you, physical emotions, physical feelings, sounds, sights, and all that. Anything that exists on the other end of you, or the other end of the threshold of you, are all existing in the same plane, in the same space. We use words that kind of mince things up and make us believe that there's some compartmentalizing to it that is not the case. When we talk about memory and imagining and this self-dialogue inside of our mind and emotions, all of those things are taking place in the same space. They're taking place in the same facility, if you will, right? So if anything that you remember is taking place now in that part of yourself, and anything that you imagine, oh, thank you for the happy birthday, I appreciate it, man. And anything that you remember or anything that you imagine is taking place inside of you, none of it actually exists in the physical space around you. No problem. Ask away your question, Summer. None of that stuff exists outside of you. It exists as part of you. So whenever you speak about a memory, what you're doing is you're connecting yourself, you, with that by speaking it out loud. When we talk about the process of revision, what you're doing is you're recreating yourself. You are no longer deciding to be the same person. Because again, like I mentioned, anything that is considered you is everything on beyond the threshold of what you consider you to be, which is like, think of the threshold of the skin. That's a better way of putting it. Anything that goes within the threshold of the skin is usually considered you, and everything on the other side of the threshold of your skin is not you. So when we talk about your memories and imaginings are just part of you. If you make the decision that you are going to revise, what you're doing is you're moving from the memory to imagination, which you're ultimately always doing, because most of the things that you think you're imagining are actually things that you are recreating, not imagining. Things that you think that you are remembering are oftentimes things that you are imagining. So most of the time when people believe that they're remembering something, a lot of the time they are using the imagination. They are creating the thing in the moment. They are actually using creation. So when you use revision, you are making a decision that I am no longer the same person. I am creating this vibration, or this image, or this sound in my mind, and I will choose to hold on to it so that it changes the world around you. Now, if you end up holding that for long enough, or in the proper way, and release it in the proper way, with sats or anything like that, you now transition into reality where other people pick up on it. Because remember, we're all cosmic consciousness. We're all this universal mind. Just so happen to be filtering into human bodies, just different bodies. If you release this concept into the unconscious mind, it just goes into other people's minds. And we can talk about like how it happens and what happens, like you transition into like a parallel reality where it just so happens that this is happening or this happened. But in actuality, you take the mind substance and you broadcast this idea and this thought, and this mind substance reflects it back to you. And that's where you have revision, where things change in the world around you according to what you had thought or what you felt, which is ultimately the same thing that we're doing with manifesting. Most of the time when we talk about manifesting, it's usually because the thing hasn't taken place in our experience and we want something to be different. There's no difference between revision and with manifestation. They're both the same thing. You're trying to create by broadcasting an idea or an image out into the world. And through doing that, you want a certain change to happen in the world. And it works. It works. It's just strange because in both directions, whether you're talking about trying to manifest something in the future or trying to manifest something in the past, there's the thought process of like, well, does this actually work? It does, but you have to understand, and I hate when people use these terms because it's used in such a way that removes the scientific or the mathematical significance of these terms. And it's like 5D. No. No, what I mean by stuff like 3D and 4D, those things are very distinct concepts. 3D is any item that you can measure in 3 dimensions. Length, width, and height, or X, Y, and Z, where you have these 3 dimensions that you can measure something in. If I hold up an index card, like here's an index card I got. If I hold up an index card, you can measure the index card by length, width, and well, technically you can also look at it in the Z direction because it's very thin, but there's dimension there. So if you can measure an object in 3 dimensions, that's a 3D object. If we talk about measuring an object in 4D or a 4th dimension, we have to think, what is an extra dimension that this object or thing can take that cannot be measured in length, width, and height? And that's where we start talking about change. Change is something that happens, but it cannot be measured in length, width, and height. Change is measured in usually the increment of time. If you look at this piece of, the index paper or the index card, and I rip it, in time, if you were to look at this item in 4 dimensions, you would see the entire life cycle of this piece of paper. You would see this piece of paper before it was made into a piece of paper, when it was formed into a piece of paper, when they dyed it, when they put the lines on it, when it came here, when I wrote on the piece of paper, and you would also see when it was ripped. And then you would also see the time as it went on, as this got dirtier and dirtier and crumbled until it finally dissolved and no longer exists anymore, which would be watching the item not in 3 dimensions, but to watch it change over time. So when we talk about 4D, we're talking about measuring change. So when we say viewing things in the fourth dimension, when you're using your imagination, you're imagining an item or a space or a thing or an experience in the fourth dimension. You're seeing change happen in space, in a particular space at a particular time. And you're creating a certain type of change that you want to happen in the world, or someone that you desire would have happened before. But if you're understanding like the fourth dimension, when we talk about four dimensions, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the past or the future. You're creating it here in the space right now. And through doing that, you can alter the structure of an object over time if you're working and operating from that level. And people experience this, and we talk about it as like if we talk about revision, it's usually like the mandala effect, where people will collectively remember a certain thing in one way and then have the opposite happen, like the cornucopia in the Fruit and the Loom company, or the Berenstain Bears and stuff like that. I think it's time to get all the gods together and have them cage fight Zeus and Jesus. That they actually have an anime where they had the gods fight. So that was pretty interesting. The gods fight humans. So if you want, you can check that out. I forgot the name of it, but it's a pretty good anime. I have a question. Okay, so hey brother, how are you? Bada boom, bada bee. I see your and you're breathing perfectly good. For the people watching, I'm glad that you're here, man. I appreciate you trying to push more people to push the live. So my question, every day I write, I am so grateful for my SP and put his name. Should I be general or specific here? Like, should I put his name in, or we are no contact for months? He circled back. Thanks to your... Oh, I'm glad that you circled back. Now he's back, but kind of hot and cold. I want us to be stable. Any suggestions? Well, get specific about what you desire and what you want. You manifested it back, so congratulations. I'm going to screenshot that because it's going to be a good little one. There we go. If you want a person to have a certain type of behavior, then you have to stop being hot and cold and moving back and forth, and just understand that what you desire is already yours, because you've already manifested the person back. So if you desire to have a person back in a particular way, stop doubting and just stick with what you want. And no, it doesn't matter how the person shows up or how they act. You just have the assumption that, oh no, you're truly this way. You may be acting out of character, but I know that you're truly like this. So like if a kid is acting bad, a parent who's like, oh, what are you doing? I know you're a good kid. So you know the character of the person, and you attribute the behavior of them acting out of character, but you know the character of the person. So it's a similar thing. Like, I know you love me and you may have acted in a certain way, and I know something's going on. So what's up? Let's talk. And that's the way that you think and consider them. And if you think and hold that character of how the person should be in your mind, that's what ends up causing them to shift and change, because the character is one that they would prefer to move into than outside of like the hot and cold behavior. Okay. Could we think of ourselves like a hub at the center of a wheel? We are actually part of everything, in the center of everything, and we turn. So yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it. Yes, and thank you for the happy birthday. Yes, that is true. If you think that way, that you are like the center of the universe and that everything else moves and revolves around you, then that's what will happen. You will begin to notice things moving around you in the way that you think and taking your lead. So what if you want to revise something that never happened, like place something in the past that never happened, but you make it so it happens so that it affects the present, then it happens. It's oftentimes just a more advanced process. And I usually only recommend it for people who have practiced manifesting something now in the present, because it requires you to have a certain amount of belief in this process. What's up with her, babe? My little one's crying. Yeah. So I would actually suggest that people start off with doing simpler things before moving into advanced stuff, because if you're talking about going back and revising the past, it is an advanced method that requires a certain level of strength to be already done. It's kind of like asking, hey, I want to do this advanced Olympic lift that like really advanced people do. Can I do it? It's like, yes, technically you can, but I wouldn't suggest doing it until you like get your like base level strength up, like do your incline bench presses and your snatches before you go off and do the Olympic lift. And yes, quantum jumping. It happened in another timeline and you want to jump to the current. Yep. I did something in the past I didn't do in this timeline. Hey brother, how are you? Pretty sure. Remember my doing voice one day. Oh yeah, totally. You're definitely gonna be one of my success stories. Tons of people will come on these lives and come back and be like, "Hey, thank you so much. I watched your videos and now I got what I wanted." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, great, awesome. I'm glad." Is manifesting just another way to say holding steady and confident thoughts? Yes, technically yes. Yeah, it is. Um, and if we're talking from like a Zen or spiritual perspective, oh well, let's talk quantum reality, because we talked about quantum leaping. This is where we start moving into the space where it gets a little spooky for some people, because you have to start considering the world in a completely different way when you do this, right? So let's start talking about quantum leaping. Quantum leaping is the understanding that a person has the ability to move from one parallel reality into another. And if you're quantum leaping, usually that parallel reality is very different from your current reality. So you have the ability to change your vibration so drastically that you go from one state of reality into another completely different state of reality. Now, the thing that most people do not understand is the first concept that must be understood is that you are already quantum leaping at every point in the day. You are always moving from parallel reality to parallel reality millions of times a second. So I love Bashar. Bashar had a very fabulous example of explaining how this works. And the way that he described it was, I want you to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to imagine that you are sitting in a park. And you're watching the birds, you're watching the trees, and people walking around in the water in a ripped paper. Yeah, that paper is like completely gone. Let's imagine sitting there by the lake. You see the birds, you see the people walking around, you see the light, and the trees swaying in the breeze. Now take a moment and freeze the frame. Like you had a remote, like from the movie Click. You had a remote and you press pause. The birds stayed completely still in the sky. The tree is stopped mid-motion. The people are mid-walking or mid-conversation. The water is completely still. Move forward one frame. See the bird's wings move slightly. The people move slightly forward. The conversation progressing as somebody continues to close their mouth slightly. Move another frame forward. Click. And with each click, you see another frame move forward. Click, 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 click. And the way Bashar described it is that each click, each pause, each individual frame is a distinct reality. A distinct and whole reality in and of itself. Each reality is a unique configuration of all the molecules in the universe to produce that specific image, that specific feeling. So with each click, with each minor movement, you're not in the same reality watching things move. You are literally watching yourself move from parallel reality to parallel reality, with each reality slightly different than the other one. So in a second, you've already moved through millions of realities. Like the act of me moving my hand is me moving from reality here, 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 and wherever my eyes were in any particular instance. No! The mandala, or the Mandela. Nelson Mandela was behind the effect this entire time. um, so when we talk about moving between realities, understand that you're already doing it, which in and of itself is not only me talking about the process, but oh yeah, go on. No problem. Go ahead and smoke your cig. Um, by understanding that you're moving from parallel reality to parallel reality and me explaining it in that way, you've now become more prone to slipping into new realities, because now you begin to believe and understand that you are constantly doing it already. Now, in understanding that you're constantly doing it already, now comes the question of, well, what is quantum leaping? Quantum leaping is making a decision in the moment that I want to move from this reality into a drastically different reality. Because since we're constantly in the rate of change, we're constantly moving through all of these different realities, we are moving from a reality that just so happens to be very similar to the reality that we were just in. So the reality where I'm here is very similar to the reality where I'm here. The only difference is just the movement of my hand from here and the movement of my hand to here. Everything else in the reality is essentially pretty much the same. So when we talk about quantum leaping, you're making a decision that I want a particular thing in my reality to be so drastically different that my consciousness knows that I have moved from one reality into another. And I want to